Good morning. I'm Cody Henriksen, and today we're going to be taking a look at how we can do string recursion. So we can do recursion on things that are not just ints. So we'll take a quick little overview of the project and look at the two methods we're working with. We have a void-based method and a string return type method. And we'll go through and step through and see what happens inside those methods as we go along through that. So let's go ahead and do a dive into that. Switch over to Eclipse. We're inside a recursion project we were working with earlier. We have our pop-up class. Remember, that's just a wrapper for the JOption pane, so we can just use it in a little more object-oriented way. My start method is always called by my runner, and so I can start that project up. And so I have a view.display message saying recursion strings. We'll go to the string work method, and that brings us down to the three methods we're going to be working with as we actually do the project. As you can see, the string work method is just going to go ahead and start us off and work with what we're working on. We can demonstrate what we're going to be doing inside this, and so we're going to just go to the two different methods, pass in two different strings, so we can see the results of that and go from there. So let's go ahead and start the project up, and we'll look at the code as it happens. So we'll start the code, look at what it goes as it happens. So we have our cute little OctoKitty character right here with recursion strings. As you can see, I'm going to hit OK. We go to that. And it's a recursion string with a void method. So we're inside our string work method now. So we're going to send our workWithStrings recursive method the value of CS1410 Java development. Now, as you can see in the workWithString, we have the parameter text. That's what we're sending the CS1410 line. Now that length is not less than or equal to 1, so it means we're not going to pass the recursive that length is not less than or equal to 1, so we're definitely not at the base case. We're not stopping a recursion. So that means we're going to go to recursive case. So we're going to call the workWithString again, passing it test.substring, passing it the length divided by 2, so we're going to go to the halfway point and send the latter half of the string out to that. And then we'll display the message with the resulting text after that recursive call happens. And so let's go ahead and test that out. So we press OK. So the first thing we get is T. As the first pop-up we get back. And then we're going to get int, and then ment, and then lopment, and then a development, and then CS1410 Java development. So it recursively builds up halfway the answer as we go back through it. So that's what's going on now. We'll take a look at that as we go deeper into it in the next stretch. And with a string type method using stringSample. So again, in stringSample, we're going to send this one computer science, that string, and it's going to evaluate that based on the text.length being less than 2. And then we'll return the text, and then we'll send it the first half, because we're going to say modified as text.substring, passing it 0, and text.length divided by 2, so we'll pass it the first half, the opposite way we're doing that first solution, and then display a message and return from there. So we say computer, that's the first half of it, and then comp, the first half of computer, co, the first half of that, and c, the first half of that, and the result is c. So that's what we get back from as we go through that. So boom, 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 boom. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happens inside the actual string values by going into the debug mode and take a look at that. We can step through this a little bit more. So we'll go ahead and put a breakpoint right here on workWithString and a breakpoint right here on stringSample. And we'll go ahead and debug this. And we do want to switch to that perspective, so we'll open up the, that version so we can take a look at that. Again, we have our stack trace over here so we can see what's happening inside the current stack of calls. We have our variables window right here, and this says what's inside it, what our local variables are. And we're not going to worry about memoization or view because we're not doing it that right here. So we're going to lose our local variables inside each method as we're hitting that. That's what we'll scroll that over. And we have our console, which we're not worrying with about. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this one out of the way. So we have more space for this. And I'm going to move my variables window. So we have our variables window down below. I just moved it out of the way so I can see more of the code we're working with as we work with it. Shrink the code down just a bit here as well. And so we're rating right here, passing it CS1410 Java development, so we can see what's inside that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to step into that line. So we'll click on the step into. And so now that is the text parameter now inside this method. And it's going to do that test, and it's going to fail the test as we step into that, which means we'll go into the, get the length on that, step out of here, and step back in. And now we're inside this workWithString, so we're going to pass it text.substring. And so we're going to go ahead and step into that. And step back through, and step in, step return. And my text length on this, so my text value is now a development, the second half of that string. And that length is not that, so we'll step over this one. And we're going to move our breakpoint down to 155 so we can actually see that, and we'll use the execution so we can get to that each time. And so we'll go ahead and go to this point, and so we're going to just hit play pause until we get to the next breakpoint. And so we're at workWithString, and so our text value is the whole value. So we're going to hit play, pause, or resume, repeat that process. And now we're calling workWithString with a development again. So that second half of the string of the CS14 Java development, we just have a development because we're to that second half of the string. We'll resume the process again. We're now just passing it allotment because that's the second half of that string. And play pause that. Now we have just ment and replacing it with nt. And now we're out of that, so we're waiting for this. Now we're at the t, so we have that second half because now we had that base case has been met. So we're now going to display that message right here. So there we go. I'm going to say OK, and then OK, and then OK, and then OK, and then OK. And we have the full value again popping back up because we've gone through, we're hitting this call right here on this view.displayMessage. We're displaying the whole message of the text that we've sent each time at that point. And then we can now get out of there. And so we're inside this next one. And so we'll go to the stringSample. And we'll go ahead and put a breakpoint right here on this one as well. So we can do the play pause or the resume feature to hit that. And we're going to go ahead and get to the execution step, and we'll go to play pause. So we have modified. Inside here we can see its value is computer because it's the first half of that text. And we'll resume again. And so we are going to go to that, resume again, and we send computer as a display message. And now we have comp as the next value, resume again, and comp gets displayed. We now have co, resume again, and co gets popped up, and c. And that means we're going to return that text value back up. As that text value comes back in, and C comes back out, and the result on that is C, because we've returned that last value. We've reached the base case, and we give what's left of us. That just gives us the first letter of the string. And so that's how we've gone through and actually demonstrated how we could use recursion using some string methods. It's a pretty simple, quick little demo, but there's some more advanced features. You can definitely take a look at that. So let's switch over back to the Java version right here. So we'll stop the execution on all of this, switch back to Java. And so we saw the process we could do by going through and stepping into and looking at the results of what's inside our parameter and our values as we work through that. These are some really simple examples because we don't want to do a lot of work for this. It's just introducing the concept for it. Again, your homework will probably have more along the lines of how you can do some more advanced tracings using recursion and working with strings. But this is just a quick way you can do a couple quick things on that. Often using substring is a great way to do it because it breaks the problem down in half easily with that, or you can use specific parts of the substring or other different letters and stuff like that. But that's the basic approach we're working with. And so that's what we're doing to make sure and have an example we can use to demonstrate how to do recursion with strings using both void and non-void type recursion so we can have some results on that. Thanks again and have a great day.